The View is live. Self-owned? GOP Congressman Matt Gaetz goes into self-quarantine after mocking the coronavirus outbreak and sharing a plane with the president. Should this be a wake-up call to Republicans? 6 states are choosing their pick for president today, and former candidate Senator Cory Booker is live on The View to reveal why he's putting his support behind Joe Biden. Funny man Nick Offerman talks about his seriously creepy new series, Devs, and going viral with a full house of deep fakes. And the man behind the legendary droid C-3PO, Anthony Daniels, takes you inside 4 decades of the Star Wars universe. Hot topics are on the table with Whoopi, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Some Republicans are reassessing the coronavirus threat. Congressman Matt Gaetz, who mocked concerns by wearing a gas mask on the floor of the House, just put himself into self-quarantine after coming into contact with someone diagnosed with it. Gaetz also hitched a ride with you-know-who on Air Force One, and they shared all that air in the plane. And the Washington Post released a montage of the mixed messages the administration seems to be sending. Take a look.
Looks like by April, you know, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true.
This virus is probably with us beyond this season or beyond this year.
View this the same as the flu.
The mortality of this is multiple times what seasonal flu is.
We think this is something that we can develop fairly rapidly, a vaccine.
A vaccine that you make and start testing in a year is not a vaccine that's deployable.
So, he still hasn't been tested, even though another congressman in self-quarantine, Doug Collins, was shaking his hand. And is all this downplaying of this kind of coming back to bite folks?
Well, I don't think he wants to be tested, because if they find he has it, the stock market will go bananas, and that impacts his re-election campaign, which is all he's thinking about all the time, you know, because he's afraid he's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's the truth.
I just think that's so dangerous that the commander-in-chief has been obviously possibly exposed to the coronavirus and would not be tested. I mean, I know that there's a dearth of tests, but you would think, test kits, but you would think he would be able, as the president, to have access to at least one.
He doesn't want it.
Well, I agree with you. The political implications if he ends up having coronavirus would be absolutely cataclysmic. And by the way, you see rallies with all the candidates running who are all well into their late 70s. And I don't know how smart it is for Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders to be doing rallies at this point. There's a lot people don't know. The average age of the average person in Congress is 57.6. Nancy Pelosi is 79. Mitch McConnell is 78. These are politicians that are traveling to and from their districts. There's a lot of misinformation that we don't know. I'm not a doctor. Don't take my medical advice, but I am someone who lives in logic, and I don't know why we're shutting down Italy if this isn't a problem. Like, if you get the flu, you don't shut down an entire country.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Let me tell you what the Italians have done. The Italians have decided they are going to err on the side of their people. And so there's a lot of Italy, as you know, it's a very nice country, very large country, that is not infected. But you can't go from point A to point B without them checking you. My partner, not my lovey partner, but my business partner just got back from Italy. And when he landed, they said, "And where have you been?" He said, "I'm coming out of Italy." And they said, "Well, welcome home. No information. Let me check your temperature. Now, he's as healthy as they come. But I find it so insane that people are getting off planes and we're not testing them. And then we listen to all this other stuff.
Apparently.
Well, you can take a damn temperature.
You can take a temperature, though.
Yeah, well, stick something in my mouth. I'll tell you if I'm hot.
I know, but there's no protocol. You know what worries me, though, the most, and I've been thinking about this often. You're talking about Americans who are obviously going to have to make the choice between going to work and staying at home, because the advice we're all getting is if you have a temperature, if you have a cough, stay at home because you don't want to infect other people if you possibly have this virus. 59% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Yep. 1 in 4 Americans don't have sick paid leave because we don't have that. Only 12 states and D.C. have sick paid leave. There's no federal law that requires sick paid leave. So if you have to go to work to pay your family, to pay for your groceries, you're going to go to work. You're not going to stay at home. And that's the problem that I think so many people are facing. And that's why it is possible that this is going to spread in this country.
And it's a problem Italy doesn't have.
It's a problem Italy doesn't have.
The idea that the spring and summer is going to come and everything's going to be fine with warm weather. This is in Iran and Australia. Yeah. It's extremely hot. So again, please stop with the BS, because again, I am not a doctor, but it doesn't take just sheer common sense
or observation
to understand, to understand this is obviously
and
larger.
And yet 43%, Quinnipiac poll says 43% of registered voters nationwide approve of Trump's handling of the coronavirus. It's that same sort of group of people that follow him no matter what he says.
But with all those mixed messages that we just showed?
And also, he believes that windmills cause cancer. Why would you believe him anything?
Because I think part of the problem is this is being politicized on both sides. And I was watching Fox last night, or Fox Business, and there was a specific clip that was just, saying that it was a left-wing conspiracy. Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing, but you can find it on the internet if you're that curious.
It's hitting left-wing states, by the way.
Yeah, it's hitting everything. And I think part of the problem is why this is so... Not to make this macabre, but why this is interesting politically is it seems like the chickens have finally come home to roost with his misinformation, because it's one thing to say windmills cause cancer. It's one thing to say, there's a million people at my rally, whatever. Yeah. It's an entirely different thing to say this potentially deadly virus that is, globally hitting everywhere is no problem here. And I actually think it is one of the few things that could really hit this election in an interesting way. We have an election night tonight, and how many people are going to end up going to the polls in the same way that they would if this also wasn't going on. Yeah. So I think the politics of this, and again, I'm not trying to turn this into that, but it's really fascinating with the election.
So my business partner, I have not seen him since he's come back, because he decided he would
self-quarantine.
Not self-quarantine, it's something else, because he's not sick. He's self-isolating. And so I haven't seen him, and he doesn't want to get me sick.
Right.
So I'm not, so everybody calm down. Oh my God, she knows somebody. Yeah.
Well, we love you, Tom, but
I think it's just that, you were very ill last year and everyone's always concerned about your health.
Well, we are, nobody's more concerned than we are about my health. And so, but everyone should realize that people, when you look at what other countries have decided to do, they've decided in Italy that they're going to tell their people, you need to stay home, and we're going to help supplement that. That's what you do when you say we think we have a potential problem and we're going to try to fix it. What you don't do is say, well, it's not really a problem.
No, where is the economic response from the White House for those workers, the 1 in 4 workers that don't
he's doing a payroll tax or something.
We'll
that doesn't
see.
help.
No.
We'll be right back. We'll see.
He's the latest candidate throwing his support behind Biden. Senator Cory Booker is live on The View to reveal why he made a 180 after coming for him during the debate.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor.
Tomorrow, the OG of the conservative seat is back. That's right, Elizabeth Hasselbeck is co-hosting, and you know she's not afraid to share her view.
We used to fight on the air all the time.
What's that like? I don't know.
You don't want to miss The View. Tomorrow on ABC.
He is the best one to heal the soul of America. He is the best one to bring dignity back to that office. He is the best one to stand up for all America. And that person is one person. That person's name is Joe Biden.
That was former presidential candidate, Senator Cory Booker in Michigan last night, letting voters know who he's throwing his support behind. And he joins us now from D.C. to tell us why Joe Biden is his candidate. Hey, CB.
How you doing, WG?
I'm all right. I'm all right. So yesterday you were one of the folks who had run against Joe Biden, and
yes,
you know, now you're endorsing him. I think I know why, but is it what you would do normally for the person you think might be if you're not going to be it, do you think that's the right person to go for?
Yeah, I started this journey not just because of the policy ideas, but because I really felt like our country needed unity again. We needed to stop hating each other, this sense of severed belonging that we have. We are a nation that's so much stronger when we find common ground and common purpose. And so as I look at the future, I know that Joe Biden is the best position of the people in that race. He is the leader that talks about these things on the stump all the time, who embodies them in many of the points of his career. And I'm excited about the prospect that he can help unify the Democrats, number one, and actually be the leader that can reach out to independents, to moderate Republicans. I think he has the best chance of not only beating Donald Trump, but beginning to heal the country. And when it comes to those Senate races out there, I want to send Mitch McConnell back into the minority, and I think that him at the top of the ticket is going to help our Senate candidates as well.
Okay. Senator, this is Sunny. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I have you know, some people see this as quite the about face, considering how much you clashed with him over criminal justice reform, racial issues when you were on the debate stage. You've also famously shared your concerns about his ability to carry the ball all the way across the end line without fumbling. I think you said once, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor. So what changed for you?
Nothing changed. Look, I said at the very beginning of this, that I'm going to support, if I don't win, I'm going to support the candidate that can best beat Donald Trump, and I'm doing exactly that. When you're in a primary, you're running because you think you're the best person, so of course you're going to have critiques. But the reality is, and Joe and I actually bonded during the primaries. We had you know, some exchanges, but they were always done with a sense of dignity, with not trying to tear down the character of the other person. And we both said that's the way our politics should be. You're quoting a joke where I talked about being all up in the Kool-Aid. That was a criticism, but it was done with humor and with grace. And so this is something we need right now. We have this cancel culture that's going on where we tear each other down, where we judge each other by our lowest points in our histories, as opposed to trying to elevate everybody to a higher point in history for us all collectively. And so I just, you know, I said on the stump yesterday that I believe patriotism is love of country, but you can't love your country unless you love your fellow countrymen and women. That doesn't mean we always have to agree or like each other, but we have to understand that we need each other, that we are each other's best hope for a brighter future. And Joe embodies those ideals the best in this race right now. He ain't perfect, but I think he's the guy that's going to help us to create a more perfect union.
Okay, this is Joy Behar. Hi, Cory. How are you?
Hey, Joy.
Okay. So first of all, I think you should use that Kool-Aid joke against Trump now. Perfect. Yeah. Despite this, what they call the Joe-mentum for Joe Biden, there's still a lot of fervor for Bernie, especially among young people and Latinos. So may I ask you what your problem with Bernie is?
First of all, I don't have a problem with Bernie. Bernie's my friend, my colleague. We've partnered on
president.
Well, again, this is not about affection, which I have deeply for him. It's not about knocking him down. It's about me looking at the field and picking the absolute best person that can unify Democrats, that can reach out to the most Americans. We've got one shot to make Donald Trump a one-term president. One shot. And these are going to be narrow margins. People who think this is going to be some kind of layup, they're wrong. This is going to be a hard-fought election. And the best person to call us together to do that is, to me, clearly Joe Biden. It's obvious tremendously him. And I respect Bernie, love Bernie, and will continue to work with him. I love his supporters. Heck, people close to me are supporting Bernie Sanders. But the reality is I feel like a lot of people put their trust and faith in me. I garnered a lot of support nationally. I've been being asked since the day I dropped out of the race, who are you supporting? Who are you supporting? So yesterday I made it clear. I feel a sense of urgency about this election. I want everyone to know. Make your own decision. Follow your own heart. But as for me, if you want to know where I'm going, I'm on Team Joe. I'm riding with.
You're going to stay a little bit longer with us, right?
I hope so.
Just
I hope so.
a little bit longer. We're coming back with more with Senator Cory Booker when we come back.
All right.
Star Nick Offerman on what brought him back to Parks and Rec's Pawnee City Hall. And Anthony Daniels on 4 decades of making Star Wars history as C-3PO.
Hey, we're back with the fabulous Senator Cory Booker. Megan.
Hi, Senator. It's Megan. We want to just pivot a little bit to what everyone's talking about, which is obviously the coronavirus. And we are being told to avoid crowds right now in New York over concerns about the coronavirus, and major events like South by Southwest and Coachella have been canceled or postponed. Look, I'm very concerned about the candidates, and we all love Joe here, and I, have respect for all the other candidates, and these are men that are in their late 70s. Do you think these candidates should continue hosting campaign rallies given the concerns over the coronavirus right now? And I know that you were actually at a rally last night yourself.
Yeah, Megan, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate your comments earlier in the show where you talked even about the Senate, where we are a very high average age, and we have tons of people pouring into the Capitol, still getting on planes from all over the country to come in to meet with us. This is a challenge, and so I really respect what Senator Sanders and Vice President Biden have done, is they said, just like you did, let's trust the professionals, and they actually are talking to medical professionals about should they shut certain things down. Now, one thing that I noticed right away that Joe Biden's campaign has done is they didn't do any rope lines yesterday. I kind of violated protocol and jumped into the crowd and shook some hands. But I understand that is something different. Even in the photo line, to make sure there's a lot more elbow bumps and even fist bumps going on. So the people around Joe Biden are really doing very respectful, conscientious things that we all should be doing when it comes to common sense social distancing, if possible, and not taking risks that are unnecessary.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the VP spot. Okay. Back in June, you told Chris Matthews that you think if you were president, you would pick a woman.
Absolutely.
Well, have you changed your mind? Do you want to be VP now, or do you think it still should be a woman?
Look, I think we've seen incredible diversity in this race. And I think there should never be a time again in the Democratic Party that we don't have diverse tickets, whether it's gender diversity, race diversity, or what have you. And I know Joe Biden, I've already heard him make positive declarations. Like he said, I want to have a black woman on the Supreme Court. That was pretty extraordinary. And even in my private conversations with him yesterday, I just heard really does reflect America. As far as choosing the vice president, he's going to, God willing, be the nominee and make that choice. And I know he's going to make the choice on the right criteria, whether it's number one, who's ready to be president, who could be a good partner to his. But also, we know that this is a political team, and he's going to choose the person that whatever his analysis does, it best helps him to beat Donald Trump.
So do you want the spot?
Look, I love my job. I actually was vetted by Hillary Clinton for that spot as well, and got down to her final list. And let me tell you, the being vetted in and of itself, forgive me for using such a colorful description, but it was a metaphorical deep body cavity exam like I've never had before. So look, I leave a lot to God, and I think more importantly for my life, and I've trusted in the Lord to guide my steps. I would have never thought I would have been a United States Senator when I started out as a city council person in the Central Ward of Newark, New Jersey. Who knows what my future holds? I want to serve my country. I want to make a difference in the lives of people that are often left out of the equation. Wherever I can do that from, I'm going to do it. But I'm going to support this ticket because I think that Joe and whoever he chooses are going to beat Donald Trump. But that's the floor. It's not the ceiling. It may get us out of a valley. I want our country to get to the mountaintop, to be a more beloved community where we see each other, respect each other, and elevate each other, and know we're better together than when we are divided.
Okay. Well, just know I've turned it down. I'm just telling you.
Hey, Whoopi, you were on my list.
Thank you to Senator Cory Booker. We will be right back.
All right.
Still a go at viewyourdeal.com. We partnered with vendors for at least half off Oprah's latest batch of favorite things. So get to viewyourdeal.com now.
So, welcome back. So, Harry and Meghan just made their last official engagement as royals, and a lot of people were reading a lot of stuff into their awkward exchange with William and Kate. But something happened over the weekend. There was an interview that happened, and this is what the person said. We have it, yes? Okay.
I think what has really, really upset the British public is that Meghan Markle, who many people consider is only, 5 clicks up from trailer trash, has actually tried to disrespect the Queen.
Wow. Now, I can't imagine what she meant by that.
Well, but the Meghan Markle is still a duchess, and this woman is going through people's garbage to find dish and dirt on people. If anybody's trailer trash, it's her. Wow. That was shocking.
It was
what an idiot.
It was just loathsome and shocking and despicable. And I know that you know Harry, Prince Harry, very well, Whoopi. I know when I saw that in real time this weekend, I just thought to myself, my goodness, that is why they are leaving.
Yeah.
The UK. That is, you heard all of these things about how Duchess Meghan had been treated, and maybe perhaps it was overblown. Well, no, it wasn't overblown because that is how she was treated.
I don't remember them saying anybody else was trailer trash.
No.
When they were white people.
Well, they did. They used to say that Wallace Simpson was trailer trash, except they didn't say trailer trash because they weren't really talking about trailers. But,
and Kate,
she was considered...
That was
low.
And the Duchess Kate is not from royalty.
No.
But I don't recall anyone ever referring to her in that way. So what is this really about?
So it's either you're royal or you're trailer trash? What? There's nothing in between?
Or perhaps you're black.
I think there's...
that's what I'm wondering about.
Oh, well, there is that. I read some British tabloids, and because they actually cover American politics, kind of interestingly, and the treatment of her has been atrocious. I mean, the way they talk about her is just, it's completely inhumane.
But there was
so I do understand.
Well, they loved her in the beginning.
The people are happy with her. It's the tabloids and the newspapers that are always a bit of a pain in the butt.
Well,
but you know what? We'll be back.
Hello, it's Nick, and I am beyond excited to be joining the ladies of The View. This is what beyond excited looks like for me.
Cool stuff to show us.
Please welcome the fabulous Nick Offerman.
Well, Mr. Offerman, last week you posted a picture on Twitter of yourself voting in front of the building that served as the very Pawnee City Hall from Parks and Rec.
That's right.
You voted, amazing. You voted for Elizabeth Warren. You're a big supporter. Obviously, she's since dropped out. So now what?
Now we have to make a less smart choice, apparently. But I think there's still a candidate talking about getting everybody health care. That seems like a pretty good idea.
Oh,
so I'll probably swing my attention. Bernie, that's his name.
Yeah, Bernie,
Yeah.
Well, the other one wants everyone to have health care, too. It's just a different form.
Right. It is a different form. I mean, it's a shame. We had such an amazing spread of choices. We love Cory Booker and Kamala in our house. And but, anything, it's amazing to have a real meal being prepared for us. Rather than the sad fare we're being fed at the moment.
Yes, the crumbs. The crumbs at the table.
It's embarrassing, But we'll be back.
So, we have to come back. We have to. So your Parks and Rec character, Ron Swanson, was macho. And so are you, apparently.
Thank you. That's very
You're a
generous.
woodworker in real life, which I find that extremely macho. If I were a carpenter and you were a lady, would you marry me anyway, you know? So people often assume that you're super masculine, but you say it's the opposite, and you want people to stop genderizing everything. Just stop it.
Well, I do think that's an old-fashioned idea. I think as we are evolving as a society and learning to pay equal attention, give everybody the same rights and fairness, it's an old-fashioned notion to say, well, he's manly, so he should have, you know, it affords more attention and more special care to members of the patriarchy. And yes, I can chop firewood, but my sister can chop firewood better than I can.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, all of these things are becoming much more fluid, and I think if we'll keep an open mind about that instead of genderizing, maybe your little girl wants to learn to use a hammer, maybe your little boy wants to sew an amazing crinoline skirt like me. I think sewing is amazing. I feel like that's as much of a superpower as woodworking. All these things are wonderful. Cooking, they're all... Making anything with your hands is a great way to say I love you to somebody else. And whether you're male or female or non-conforming, you can do those things. So I say let's loosen up the idea of like that's for boys and that's for girls.
I love that. Yeah.
Everyone should use a hammer, by God.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. My daughter is actually a great woodworker, so I love that.
Believe it. I have a wood shop in Los Angeles, and the best woodworkers, I always say the Han Solos of my wood shop have always been women.
We can do anything. Paloma a great woodworker. Well, you and your wife, Megan, have been married for 16 years. And that's a long time.
I believe it's 17.
Is it 17? Yeah. That's a long time.
If my math is sound.
Yeah. And you've even written a relationship book together. Now you have a podcast called In Bed with Nick and Megan. What exactly happens in that bed and in that podcast?
Well, gosh, this is daytime television, right?
That's where all the action is, okay, in daytime.
I don't care what time of day it is, you got to use protection, ladies and gentlemen. Use your common sense. We're very lucky. We have a great sense of humor together. We've been together for 20 years. We're crazy about each other. And in our bed, we actually record this podcast in our bed.
Oh, wow.
And our guests they eventually are coaxed into the bed, And it's like the end of a party when everybody's left, but one or two friends stick around and you flop down, and you have those really good talks.
Those are the best.
There's a real casual sense to it. You're not sitting at a microphone, but you're laying in our bed.
Having a throuple, perhaps.
So, yes, a throuple, a quadruple has taken place. It's really enjoyable. And sometimes it's really funny, sometimes it goes really deep.
Yeah.
It all depends on how much clothing we're wearing.
I like it.
And it's about relationships, though.
It's about everything. It's about relationships. It's about the business.
Okay.
But I mean, we did a great episode about bullying. Often the guest has things they want to talk about, and we let it. We're cool. We let things go where Mother Nature takes us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Like right now, Mother Nature is taking me to your new show.
Yes.
Which is called Devs, and it's from Alex Garland, who does amazing sci-fi. You play the head of a tech company, as I said, who protects a secret development project at any cost. Tell us what's happening. I'm going to take that creepy little girl, that giant girl.
Yeah.
What the hell? There's like there's all kinds of stuff going on. My friend Stephen Henderson is in it. He's brilliant.
Beautiful.
Yes, he's a great person. So what is it really? What is this about?
I'm so glad to work with Alex Garland. Is such an exquisite artist. He's a beautiful novelist who then became a filmmaker, and his stuff just stands apart. He has such a beautiful vision. And the way he uses music. So his movies, and now this 8-hour series, he always asks questions of humanity. We're getting too good with our technology. We're all, I think, aware of this, that us dumb animals have these gadgets where we can do things like know where everybody is on the planet and all of these things. And if our values are not strong, these things are very dangerous.
Yeah.
So this show poses one of these questions. If our computers become strong enough, if we can gather enough data, what are we dumb humans going to do with that?
Oh, see, you have to come back and tell us, because people have to watch this. You must know.
It's exquisite.
Okay, it's really well
beautiful.
done. Listen, you're never here enough. Bring Megan back when you come. Come by yourself. Just come. Keep coming back to us. We love you. Our thanks to Nick Offerman. Devs is streaming now exclusively on FX on Hulu. We'll be right back.
Takes you on his epic journey through all 3 blockbuster Star Wars trilogies and reveals what the future holds for C-3PO.